hat to me.
Yeah.
I have got a flat hat.
All right then, Ned.
Yeah, fine. Okay, so this meeting is going to be all relaxed and nothing like the last one. So it's always one, isn't it? So basically, there's a few people in here want to have a word about certain things, which is just right. And I've been asked to start it off, which I'm not used to. So basically, July the 23rd, and it's now August 23rd since our attempted eviction. The banks so far are on the back foot, and they've actually changed our solicitors. They've gone from the bulldog ones. They've gone, oh, this paperwork's hot, and they passed it to the next lot, who we had before. But we are in the process of going after them. So that's up to date. We're still happy, aren't we, Sue?
Yeah.
And we're in the house.
I am.
And thanks to all you people.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Thanks to your video, Tom, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You started something, young man.
You started us, Tom, and that's a big thing.
Yeah. Since that day, things have gone on a march. We've got response. We've got people saving their homes, which wasn't happening before. People were standing there, but the police were turning their backs, not doing their duty, and the bailiffs had free hand to just crash into people's homes, like the one we've seen in Wales where they smashed the door in. People assaulted in Manchester. So now it's us stopping them breaking the law, because it's their job to keep the law, and now we're doing it for them. So hopefully they'll learn from us. Now Guy,
job as well.
take you up to date with Guy. He spent many years trying to get into court, not civil court, but high court, through having a jury, and they've stopped him. But now he's absolutely delighted, because now they've given him the opportunity, the Wallies, that they crashed into his building, his home, the manor, and with helicopters, I think 70, 80 police took the place and arrested him, arrested David for squatting. He's only a guest, he can't squat, and you shouldn't be arrested in your own property anyway. They've charged him with burglary. Now, off the caravan, which was open, and we got enough witnesses to prove that. And David, I think, was found asleep in the caravan, so he was squatting. Now he's going into court on the 10th of September, and he wants all those that can come along to witness what's happening. So if you can come along, he'll be delighted. Now, as I said, they spent years trying to keep him out of court to get a jury. Now he's got a jury, he's got the ability, or the opportunity, to present all his papers, and our hero, Mr. Ebert, has prepared such documents. It's like giving him a box of dynamite, and they lit the fuse. So,
Sweet. Fantastic news, yeah.
Linda and so basically, that's what happened to us, all up to date. I still go on about the petition, because with being made bankrupt, they go after your property, and that's what they did to Guy. Okay, so all those little things that's in the petition you think is not important is important, because council tax, they can make you bankrupt in that as well, and take your property. So they use all their tools. We've got our tools now, and it's called Response, that Adi is going to talk about in a minute. With Paul. Where's Paul? Paul down there.
Paul's going to talk.
He stays in the background.
Adi's the mouthpiece.
And of course we've got Andy, who we always try and get to speak when possible. So Who would like to go first?
Aidy.
Fire away.
Oh, sorry, Salon.
Let's make this 10th of September the one to remember, like the one the 10th of September they made us remember, which was the 10th of September 2001, where Rumsfeld came out and said the US Treasury had lost track of $2.3 trillion.
Indeed.
Then they had 9/11 the next day, and that was all brushed aside. So let's make sure this one is our 10th of September.
You've been doing your history then, your
I know a little bit about that, particular dates, yes.
So, would you like to speak?
Well,
go on.
You go first, mate.
No,
You're better at this than me.
Go on, Eddie.
Go on, Eddie.
Once you get there, you'll be fine.
Oh.
Come on,
Eddie, just start with your friends. Just stand up and say your name.
Do I need to stand up?
Problem.
No,
We all welcome you. You
tell us about
know how
timing?
these groups work.
Yeah, tell us.
Oh yes.
do I?
Yeah.
Well,
Tell us about Tony, please.
You spoke, you know, it's next Friday's eviction.
oh right, yeah,
Yeah,
Tony's, yeah. I heard about Tony Benson a couple of days ago from Dave Butcher, who's a very trusted friend. And when Dave asked me if I can help, it's time to do something. Dave don't ask for anything, and if he's asking me for help, it's time to get up and help. Tony's a former serviceman. I don't like to call anybody an ex-serviceman because it's in your blood. Once you're there, it's in your blood. He's a former serviceman who contracted meningitis, and within a very short space of time, he was critically ill. He's been left as a tetraplegic with other serious life-threatening conditions as well. And basically, he's been screwed about by the council. The accommodation he's in is actually council-rented accommodation. And there was a conditional agreement to the tenancy, and that condition was that they would basically develop the property around him to suit his needs. They've done nothing. They originally took him on as a secure tenant because he owed them no money. All of a sudden, overnight, because he put a video out called Vote Benson, basically trying to assist anybody with disabled needs to help them and help to improve facilities for disabled, a £56,000 imaginary debt appeared overnight.
Oh, that's a surprise.
Which 56,000,
Right.
which then meant that he's in debt with them, so he's no longer a secure tenant. Puts him in the position then where they can say, right, well, fair enough, we don't want you.
Do we know the name of this council?
I believe it's Kesteven. It's born Lincolnshire way. I have got some details off Tony. And actually, if there's anybody in here who's smart enough and got the right contacts, I need to email them later on just to do some address checks on his behalf. If anybody wants to approach me who's got contacts to do that, then come see me. Now, it's got to the point where he wants his day in court. All he wants is his day in front of a judge. And I personally, from conversations with him, I'm confident that judge will just turn around and say, stay where you are, mate, leave it as it is. Because he is that genned up. He's done his research, he's done his work. Now, they're also now claiming that this £2,800 unpaid rent.
On top of the 56,000.
Well, I'm not sure what's happening with the 56,000 yet, whether or not that just appeared to make him an unsecure tenant and then disappeared when he challenged it, once they'd changed his status from secure to unsecure.
Has he got notice of name?
He's a smart guy. He's got recordings of every single conversation he's had.
Who's the 56,000 debt from?
I have no idea. I've not got that from him. I've not, our conversations, because
Amount of money
we've just gone off on tangents in conversations, and there's that much information that I'm trying to take in from him. I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute, Tony, ring me back in an hour when it's all soaked in what you've just said.
It's got to be worth finding that out.
Yeah, I will find that out. I'll find that out, that's not a problem. But now they're saying there's £2,800 debt arrears, rent arrears. He's got confirmation from the benefits agency that he's been paid the rent, the rent's been paid.
Not through bedroom tax.
No, no. Now, he's also been granted 39-hour care, but they've told him that they haven't got the money to pay for the 39-hour care that he's been granted.
Has he got that in writing?
He'll have it on the recorded phone conversation if it's not in writing. He's got so much evidence, it's unbelievable. Now, the problem he's got is they are telling him that he's got to use his DLA money that he's saved to buy the equipment he needs for when the property's developed to suit him, i.e. a £7 bed, a £3 mobility scooter that caters for his needs. Now bearing in mind he's literally got use of one arm, and that's pretty much it. From his chest down he's paralysed.
Was this from the military service?
No, this is from the meningitis.
Oh, from the
Do
meningitis.
we know what regiment he was in?
I haven't got any clues yet. I can find all that out for you.
Served as well.
Sorry?
How long he served?
Yeah, I'll find all
Yeah,
that
so
out.
I'll go to the regiment. No, not the day touch.
No, I'm going to the,
Yeah, I'll go to the regiment as well. I'll go on Facebook to their regiment.
If it's anything to do with 912 or Lancashire, I'll have to contact
Sorry?
her.
Oh, right, got you. A little bit more enlightened now. But they're expecting him, they told him point blank, well, you've got that money put aside, we don't know where that money's come from. So they've done a full investigation on his finances, and now they're aware that that's his DLA money that he's saved up to kit himself out.
Yeah.
But they're still telling him that basically he's got to pay this £2,800, and they're telling him that he's got to pay it out of his DLA money. Now, he's found a property that would be perfectly suited. It's an office unit, which is all open plan. He's designed the interior himself on CAD, so it's all ready to go. But the property's 150 grand. The council have turned around and said, well, it's not a viable option for us. It's not a financially viable option for us. I mean, I've told him, you know, there's Andy, builder, I'm a dry liner. We could go in there and build it to a specification. That's not a problem. It can be done, but they will not buy the property to suit him. He's got issues with the council over so many different things, it's unbelievable.
He's got the damp, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got black damp, which is one of his conditions is
He gets lung infections.
he's got seriously bad lung problems. He's also got written confirmation from the medical profession that a nursing home will kill him. No two ways about it, a nursing home will kill him.
why is that? Why?
Because of his condition, he's been put in a nursing home before, and they no longer take him through A&E, he goes straight into resource when he goes to hospital.
Right.
That's how bad he is.
What about if we can try and get him to a British Legion home?
Sorry?
We can try and get him to a British Legion home.
Well, I don't know what he's done himself or anything like that, you know. I've just basically picked up the instant information that we needed.
No, I'm saying that could be an option.
Yeah, to launch the event, you see.
Kick him out of his home after all this.
He's a breach of contract if he did turn out.
Ask him if he has,
Depending
tell
on
him
how long he's
to,
gone
if he
through,
hasn't
you can get
already,
negligence on
contact
that.
SAFA,
So,
Right,
SAFFA.
yeah,
They're absolutely fantastic with ex-servicemen with stuff like adaptation.
yeah.
So if he hasn't already, may well already, tell him to contact SAFA.
I say he's done that much. I'm not aware of everything that he's done. You know.
If SAFA get involved, I can't see the council being allowed to treat me like a bag of crap that they are.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I know what
it's
you're
pretty
saying.
disgusting from somebody, you
I
know.
think what everybody's trying to say is that you shouldn't be using one attack.
Yeah,
They've got breach of contract. If they took me on a tenancy in agreement that they were going to do these modifications to the property and X amount of years down the line, nothing's been done, breach of contract.
and negligence.
He's got these.
If they've sent letters saying you owe £56,000 and then that money's disappeared, you've got a fraud case.
Yeah.
Misrepresentation.
Each of these are another line of attack. You shouldn't be taking them individually, you want to throw it all at once.
Yeah. Give them a lot
Watch
to
them
think
start
about.
going, let's leave this guy alone, let's do his house, let's not, start
Yeah.
stirring this because he's got us on everything.
Stop using statements.
And any statement that they make on the phone that he's recorded, that is as good as a contract.
Yeah.
A verbal contract's only good enough if you can back it up with evidence that it was said. This is why they always tape us.
Yeah.
We might use this for a...
Many times they've told him point blank that the conversations are not being recorded. And he's like, that's fine by me.
They're not supposed to.
Anyway.
The loophole is with most of these corporations is that they're not allowed to record training. But they get round it because it's training purposes, exactly.
Yeah.
They turn around and they use a recording to tell you what they're recording you, and they say, this will be used for training purposes.
Yeah.
It's not. If you say you're going to do something, and they go, okay, pay you so-and-so, or do this and that, and then you turn around and go, oh, I didn't say that. Well, we've got a recording, and now here's the transcript, and that's a contract.
Yeah.
Well, it works both ways. So if he's got the recordings of them saying that they're going to do something, or that they haven't done something, and the reason they haven't done it, but they will do something, and then don't do it, that's a verbal contract. He agreed to it. So once again, you do them for breach of contract.
Yeah.
But it's a separate case from the breach of contract to the tenancy. Each of these are separate cases, but throw them all at them. This is the only way you're going to win with them. Basically, you bury them in their own paperwork.
See, the thing is as well, he's got this written confirmation from the medical profession about a nursing home will kill him, as simple as. The judge has totally disregarded that. There was no notice whatsoever of that, and said, I'm not bothered.
What court did?
Magistrates.
Well, it will be a
County or
Yeah.
is it county?
yeah.
Commercial court,
Yeah.
issue.
But AD, he can't access court anyway.
No, that's the problem he's got, you see. He's requested for a judge to come to his home, so he can put his case to the judge at home. Nah, we all know the likelihood of that, don't we?
Put this case on paper, can't he?
The point is here is that you've just heard what I said, and everybody's chipped in, and pretty much saying, like, you know, that this is another attack, and this is another attack, and this is another attack. We can sit here and we can fathom all this in the cold light of day with no emotions involved, because it's not us that is going through it. The guy who's come to you for help, he can't see the wood for the trees.
No.
Because he's got all of the past weighing on his
Is
shoulders,
it the
and he
point
can see
now?
what's going to happen to him if he can't do something about it. It needs somebody, and you're the contact, to say to him, look, just take a step back, this is what's happened to you, fight that. This is what's happened to you, fight that. This is what's happened to you, fight that. And these is how you fight these three issues. Now, where's the other 20 that you've got? And this is how we fight these. But we do it all in one go. We do it individually, we send them individually, so that they can't say, oh, it was in a bundle of things.
Yeah.
You send each one individually, recorded post, they can't deny that they've received it. Send it to their legal department. Don't send it to the guy at the top of them, because all he's going to do is go to his legal department and say, where do I stand on this? Send it to their legal department. And then they can't turn around and go, oh, well, we never had it, you sent it to the top bloke.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All of these are delaying tactics that they'll use, so, oh, I've got to send it again. All the time, the clock's ticking down. It's so, when you start stepping back and looking at it, you go, well, that's obvious. Send it to the guy who's going to end up reading it, their lawyer.
And also send it by hand. I know it's not a problem, but handwrite it as well to that person, because then that is coming from the man to the man.
Has he got knowledge of? Does he know there was knowledge?
He's well, very, very well gendered. He baffled me
Then
completely.
he needs to use,
Totally baffles me.
Yeah.
and he also needs to use section 6 of the European Declaration of Human Rights, because if the judge is not going to come to his house, which he's entitled to as a disabled person if the judge or if the court is not set up for it, then that's an unfair trial that has
It's
just gone
keeping him
on.
away from the use of justice.
Yeah, it's an unfair trial, so that's where he brings in the human rights, and that gives him a lot more time, because believe me, they shit themselves. With section 6 human
Well,
rights,
actually,
which
it
is
was in the papers the other day, or somewhere I read it, I can't remember to read that much stuff, that the government loses 75% of any case to do with human rights.
all appeals, believe it or not, all appeals taken to the Court of Appeal, 85% of them are won on rule breaks. That's breaches of the CPR.
Yeah.
They breach it all the time, but no one complains. We just sit back and go, all right. But if you
It's like
appeal,
everybody,
you've got to go in.
The rights,
Yeah.
you turn around and say, no, they're mine.
Yes, and you've got to go in knowing that you've got to go as high as you can. If you go in thinking you're going to get justice in a commercial court, you might as well just hand over your money or hand over your keys and walk out the house.
You're only
Because I'm prepared to go to the
court
Supreme
get
Court.
fined. That's all you're there for. You're already guilty.
Yeah.
You walk into a commercial court, you're just the wrongdoer waiting. You're the customer. And
Yes.
always
Yeah,
pays the bill.
That's it.
Well, it's got to him that much now, where he said, the last thing he said to me the other night on the phone was, I just feel like saying, right, here's your 2,800.
And that's what they want.
Yes.
Because
They
know for a
what he's
start
got
that
with
he's
it.
disabled.
Yes.
They know for a start that he's in a weakened state.
Yes.
What's the easiest thing to do to somebody in a weakened state?
Pressure.
Pile on the pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure.
So like we couldn't...
Look what happened to Tom.
Yeah.
He knew that what that was happening to him was wrong. He turned around and said, how can you say that I'm never going to pay my mortgage off? Just by pure mathematics, if you work out that I paid you £300 a month for the last 25 years, I've paid it off 3 times. So how can you say that I actually owe you more than the mortgage I took out 25 years later?
Well, I've got the answer here, and we
They
found
said
out
to
why.
themselves, here's the guy we've got on the ropes now, because he's asking us questions and almost pleading with, look, what's going on? And they said, right, we've got him on the ropes. Let's put the pressure on.
They don't like it when you do it to them, that's the thing.
But Tom didn't look. He started asking questions they didn't like.
Yeah.
Until in the end they went, we're not going to answer anymore, and we're sending the bailiffs round. And that's when normal men and women went,
No.
That's not
It
happening.
retired. It retired.
But you're right about the CPR, and once again, back to that petition, it's all to do with the CPR that they're totally ignoring.
They don't have to. They don't have to adhere to it.
Yeah, but
It doesn't. It doesn't adhere to the lower courts. CPR may be there, but the lower courts
Don't
they're not
recognise-
judges. I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
they're even judges.
They're not even qualified.
Which is what I wanted to ask you about Judge Maria Smith. What does she look like? Because I've sat in front of her. I just
Have
want
you?
Yeah, I just want to compare you. See, I've got a case where I've had 2 judgments on one case with a finance company. Both of them by the same judge, but those 2 people that sat in front of me were different.
Really?
So I'm challenging.
We've had something like this actually, and one of the judges that was at one of
Holt.
the was it District Judge Holt. It's not what they look like different. We actually are questioning whether he actually is a district judge and if he
Well,
is actually a solicitor
Me
or a
and Fran
barrister.
think that they're throwing in magistrates because they only have to do a 12-week
Yeah.
course to be a
right,
magistrate.
Yeah.
So we think magistrates are being thrown in with pre-ordained orders because remember the lower court's only about paperwork. Unless you've got your status when you walk into court, and a lot of us don't, they're only interested in the paperwork.
That's right.
Yeah.
So therefore it's a rubber stamping
Could be
issue.
somebody
And the only time anyone's going to look at your paperwork is when you start hitting the Court of Appeal upwards. If you're going into court thinking, I ain't going to the Court of Appeal, don't bother going to court.
But
If you
it's
look
got,
for
it's
justice,
got even
you've got to
worse
go up there.
actually, because even the High Courts now, the top judge has said he doesn't read all the paperwork,
Thank you.
and he only looks at the summing up of the barristers.
Because we're all entering in statements. We're all entering statements rather than affidavits. It doesn't have to be notarised. I think you can walk up to a court on the day with an affidavit and say, Your Honour, I haven't had time to notarise my affidavit, will you accept it? He's going to say yes or no. If he says yes, he's on his oath of office. Boom.
Can't you just have 3 good men actually sign it
Yes,
as
I
well?
believe you can, but I haven't seen any that's been accepted as evidence.
The 3 men are
That's the
only
problem.
signing to say that they saw your hand.
Yes, they are.
document. They're
But
not
does the
signing
court
for
put
what's
it
in
into the
document.
bundle? Does the next judge on read what's in the bundle? I've had many cases
No, they
where the
don't.
judge
They don't.
has never read the bundle because I'm saying to her, well, hang on, Your Honour, we've got a breach in, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 17, subsection 2. We have an arbitrary decision that was made in an earlier hearing. I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
She read the bundle. No.
That's what they do. They turn
Because
the
they're
document
just
over,
reading
don't read
what's
it.
there.
That's why you make sure you're right on both
So
sides.
therefore, affidavits, notarised,
They
or ask the
get around
judge to
that one
accept
by
it.
reading between the lines.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
You're just saying that sometimes they get out of your document in front of them, they turn it over, and the oldest trick in the book is, well, I can't. It's like Nelson putting the telescope over his blind eye and going,
Yeah.
I don't see any.
Or they claim you haven't sent
They
it.
turn it over and say, well, I see no controversy here. Well, no, of course they don't, because they're looking at the blank side of the page. as the gentleman next to him said, well, that's why you write on both sides if you don't
Yeah,
read.
exactly.
But then they read between the lines.
Because
Because it's all blank between the lines. Exactly.
Yeah.
What happened in, if we can't see it happening, it didn't happen.
Yes.
It's really like a child doing this. La 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 la, can't hear you, can't hear you. It's exactly the same. It's so childish, it's unbelievable. But they get away with it every day because you don't realise they're turning that. They're sat up there in the little high chair, you know, with the bib on and the wig and playing at being in charge.
As you
And
say,
they turn it over and you can't see us turn it over and say, well, what do you mean? Have you read it? Yes, of course I've read it. There's nothing here for me to look at. No, you turned it over. But I don't know you've done that.
Andy, the thing is, that when you go back to Carl Lentz, as he says, you're only a three-dimensional character trying to communicate with a
In a
two-dimensional
two-dimensional world, yeah.
So all the paperwork should be in
Yeah.
and
Well, this is
stamped
what I said
and
to you
recognised.
before,
They
wasn't
won't
it?
recognise it until they recognise your status. So.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
That's
Well, you put your status in.
It's
as a
no
man.
use standing up like they can't see you. A civil court is a 2D court. It all works on paperwork. Everything's fiction. They all hold offices, which are fictions. You're in a building when they tell you the court orders you to do something. How does a bricks and mortar order anybody to do anything? It's the man and woman in that courtroom that has the only authority.
But
If you stand in your office and say, I'm a judge and I ordered you to do this, you go, excellent, thanks very much. I take orders every day. It costs you £1,000 though.
Write it.
You know, and here's the bill, £1,000 because I'll fulfil your order. Yeah, absolutely, sir. I will not go into that town for the next 6 months and here's your bill.
Yeah. Well,
You say to a copper, is that an order or a request? I guarantee every time they'll say it's a request.
They have to.
They have to.
They're under
because they know they can't order.
Yes.
shall we get back to response now? How well you're doing?
Well, yeah, anybody who's seen Guy's videos will be thinking, crikey, they've done fantastic. Now, we haven't done as well as what Guy said on the videos. No, Guy stated 11, I believe, at one point.
Yeah, some of those weren't to do with you, but
They've actually happened, haven't they?
they've happened, yeah.
Right. Well, personally, we've been involved with 5. Bearing in mind, we didn't even set response up until the night before the 23rd of July.
Which kind of shows you there was a need for it.
Oh, definitely.
No, people don't jump onto something and go, I got no need for that.
I think there's always
Just shows you how many people up and down this
The
country
other
are just
thing
going,
is as well-
is this really my castle?
The other thing as well is it's not, there's nothing financial involved, but I've got a business head. So I used my business knowledge and wrote a business plan for where I wanted response to be. That got burnt about a week and a half ago because we're about 3 times further forward than I expected.
people have reacted quite well.
They have, yeah. People have realised that there's a need for something, and that's why it wasn't launched until the 23rd, because I knew there were going to be people at Tom's. I knew there were going to be people
After
there.
the chats we had as well.
Yeah, we'd had a few chats, and Tom's told me that he'd got a lot of people who were interested, who were going to turn up, and I'm following the event page and all the videos, and I thought, right, this has got to be the prime time. Launch it on the day. And I spoke to as many people as I could who were there. There were many who I didn't get a chance to speak to, who within 3 days of launching response were active members. You know, and Midlands alone is now up on to 605, I do believe, individual members.
It's brilliant.
And that's in 4 weeks. We've got 11 or 12 groups in total, with 7 major hub groups, the Midlands being the biggest, and the main one was being in centre of country. I believe in total now there's in excess of 1,000 individual members. I'm going to collate everything into a spreadsheet and just work out individual numbers.
Don't put the names and addresses down.
Don't forget
Yeah, lady.
Don't forget the Danish.
Yeah, the lady from Devon.
Yeah.
How do you spell response in Danish?
Don't.
No, that's weird. I've got all on spelling and speaking English. But yeah, we've got the lady from Denmark, we've got one, also American lady who's in contact with us as well, who's been involved with something similar over there, but now decided that the similar that she's involved in ain't working as well as what we've got response working. So that's going to be starting up in a fashion over there as well.
Good.
That seems to work because a lot of other groups have tried to pop up before, haven't they? But there's always been egos and people have had different agendas. But now it seems to work for everybody.
That's it. And the thing is as well, we're not bothered. We're not just response. We work with Ceylon, as everybody knows.
Be the bailiffs.
We work with Be the Bailiffs. We work with everybody in the eviction group. You know, and we're just about getting numbers.
Andy's got. You're doing a video.
Andy's done a book. He's brought a copy.
Has he?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. The response bailiffs and a book.
For $25.99.
It's just
the value.
After a bit of proofreading, that's going to be put up into the files section on every response page.
Yep.
So anybody can...
It's just a little handbook basically, it's just the basics that people who don't know what they're doing. Even if you do know what you're doing, personally if they come to my house, I'd still need it.
Yeah, you need it. That's fantastic. That's great.
Just the basics really.
Oh, fantastic. That's brilliant.
I'm just overwhelmed at how well it's gone from word go. But it's obviously showed, like I said, it showed that there was a need for it.
People were obviously sat at home going, if only there was...
Yeah.
And now there is.
Well, it was
Something
something...
clouds are looming.
Yeah, it's something I'd wanted to do for a while. And then I was actually introduced to AD only 2 months ago through a guy called Carl Brown from Liverpool, who runs a group with Jason Faraday called The One People. And they sort of set us up from there, didn't they? You know, they might have different ideas to us, but we've all got the same agenda, everybody has.
And that's it, at the end of the day, I'm happy to work with them alongside anybody who's not bringing an ego to the party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anybody brings ego, sorry, but you're not welcome.
Our next door neighbour's called Ego.
Egos, agendas, don't need them.
Oh, that works for a guy who does a lot with electric.
Have there any thoughts on keeping that momentum up?
Yeah, we've got some ideas and
We've got a few plans in pipeline. We've got some contacts who are doing some work for us in the behind the scenes.
we've actually got some information from somebody who works for a court.
Whoa!
In the East Midlands. So, yeah.
Possible that we may be able to get hold of information regarding past eviction orders in Derbyshire.
Right.
And future.
Well, no, I mean from the past. I mean, eviction orders that have been passed through the courts in Derbyshire. Now, if we can get hold of that, then I'll be spending all my time on road because I'll be flying out to see people individually and giving them a first point of contact.
Hang on, you've only had this going 5 minutes. You've got your own helicopter.
And you've got to smuggle the drugs in somehow, haven't you?
Did you see it?
Pay for it somewhere. You're not living in an old flower somewhere. No one cat.
Well, yeah, that's what it's all about, you know, getting this first point of contact in and letting people know that there is something out there.
Yeah, didn't you have an idea, Neil? You was going to mention one outside about balloons.
Balloons.
Oh, I was just watching the kids float with the balloons from the tennis courts. I thought put the little labels on and just let them float across the country. Little tags across, you know, drop into the people's gardens. It's up to them if they want to read anything.
That's actually very good.
Very good idea.
It's a cheap way of spreading the
promotional
message,
campaign.
isn't it?
I think a promotional campaign within this meeting, you know, get out of debt free is well established.
Yeah.
How many? 56,000?
Fantastic.
54,000 members.
Get them all finding the local response groups.
I think it's a really good idea to you know, you've got a business head, Abe, and you know, we talk quite a lot on the phone, and to use that business head to promote it to.
See, we've also
we seem to be just. I don't mean this as in a bad thing, you know, but everything seems to be within this community.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to. I believe we need to branch out to the.
See, Brian's in the process of building the help response website.
Yeah, looks good at the moment. Looks good.
It's getting there. It's getting there now, and now that's outside of Facebook because we all know we're going to get restricted.
Of course you are.
We're getting restricted now.
Yes.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, they're going to priority.
Really?
But going back to
those people that don't hear, I'm going to make another video with some help of some of the people that's very knowledgeable that we never hear about, and they're going to put forward all the points, and it'll be for Middle England. And they're the people that have woken up all around our neighbourhood, because if this can happen to me after 25 years, and exactly, try and take my home, it can happen to them, and they've had a scare.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people coming up to me and saying, you know, oh, what, you know, this might happen to me, my mortgage, and so they are thinking about it, and they just don't know about all the other stuff, and you know, the penny hasn't dropped, has it? So it's like, you know.
Even the BBC girl that interviewed it, she told me it's happening to her parents.
Yeah, exactly.
It happened to her parents.
It's happening.
Happened.
Oh, it happened.
It happened.
Oh, okay, there you go. So.
Yeah.
You see,
and she knew before.
And she still didn't put me up on the...
She still took your voice away from you, didn't she?
But I also think as well, this petition needs to go on paper.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we know that, but we know that they've been messing around with the numbers on the sites.
Yeah. And Tom, you need to add to the petition that the judges must wear identification, because that's one of the biggest issues.
Yeah.
If we can start getting judges to actually identify themselves with name badges, we can check every time people go in courts, are they in front of a judge, or are they in front of a civil servant?
Well, I can tell
There's
you
a difference.
I went down to the Royal Courts of Justice, okay, and I spoke to one of these masters, and I stood in front of him and I talked to him, and I said, oh, what's your name? And he was so polite, he told me to read it on the door on the outside. That's how much these people respect other people. So I understand about the names, and they've had messages passed down from the High Court that they should identify themselves by law, and they're totally disregarding it. They're criminals.
It's their rule, Tom, they're not going to do anything.
Well, they make the rules, they think they can break the rules.
It's their rule, they can do what they want.
That's right. It's administrative court. They can do what, you know. I read somewhere, what is it? In an administrative capacity, the judge, he or she, can run the court in whatever form he or she sees fit. That tells you how much.
So is the Crown not still administrative?
Which Crown?
Well, there you go. I mean, the average Crown, not the Crown Court that I've been to.
Well,
years and years
Elizabeth's
ago.
got nothing to do with our court system. That's why I say which Crown.
Yeah.
East India Trading Company is thinking.
My brother's on the same.
Well, I think my point is, where does this stop? Where does this abusive process, or where does the real law come into it? What court do we have to get to?
I think if everybody looks at their court paperwork, I suppose, I don't know how we're going to quantify this, but I've looked at mine after listening to some of these Canadian guys, and I noticed in my early proceedings, I'm represented stylation-wise, how my name is written, as capitalist minimum. So they were listening to me. But by the time I got to the actual main event itself, I turned into capitalist maximum. Now, because I didn't challenge that anywhere, and even though my evidence was overwhelming, I had beyond reasonable doubt of fraud, deceit. They didn't hear it.
And they won't hear it.
Exactly. So, if these guys are right that we have to challenge not the name, not the way it's written, the stylation, that's the point of view. Because they're telling us, well, they're telling me, when they're going to court, they're being heard. The documents are being filed. And all the way up the chain, they're getting justice. And that's what I'm trying at my appeal on the 23rd. I've got an appeal hearing on the 23rd. I'll be challenging. I've already put an objection in on the actual stylation of my name, waiting to hear back. And another thing I'm doing now as well is actually going to the post office and actually getting a bundle of the recorded delivery slips. So I write the actual number of the recorded delivery slip on the actual letter too. Sign it, scan it, then post it.
You can actually get the post lady, postman, to sign it as well as
a witness.
Well, I'm looking at a postmaster at the moment who I've just done a big favour for, saved him from bankruptcy and blah 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 blah. I'm just waiting to find out if a postman stamps your documents, does it make it as good?
It's higher.
It's higher.
That's the highest.
Postmaster.
Yeah.
Well, if that is true and someone can find me the actual law to back it up,
Well,
we've got a postmaster.
well, you know what you were saying just then. I had to get some experience in court because I've never been to court before, and I got a speeding ticket, and I did the car lengths, and it actually does work. And what I did, I got the paperwork, I put it in, I required them to let me get this clear. I asked them, was there a man or a woman bringing a claim into the court because I would reimburse that man or woman for any harm I've done. I also put in to bring into the court the law. And I went into Mansfield Court up here, and they went, oh, can't handle this, and they put me down to the main court in Nottingham. Once again, I put everything in. I took my Bible in as well. And the court clerk came out to speak to me, and she said, you're a free man. I said, no, I'm a man. And she says, basically, a nod and a wink, you're all right. And I didn't believe her. And I went in, and the prosecutor stood up and he started to speak, and I said, I object. Has this man any first-hand knowledge of what's happened? And is he willing to swear under oath of affirmation? And she says, I told them to come. They said, what's your name? And I said, I call myself Thomas Crawford, but you call me Thomas. And I had the court clerk saying, well, Thomas, don't get ahead of yourself here. Just let the man speak and let him continue. Is that all right? And asking me, is it all right? So I said, well, if that's what you want to do, that's what they did. Then the next thing was, he finished, and the three Muppets at the top, magistrates, the one in the middle started to speak, and I said, who are you? And he said, I don't know if it was his honour or his worship, but one of those. I said, I'm a Christian and I do not give honour to a man like that, or I will certainly not worship you. I said, is it your wish that I call you sir? And he says, yes, that's fine. So now I've got joinder between man and man, because only a man can make a wish. And he says, well, Thomas, we're going to go into this room at the side and we'll have a little discussion, and I promise you, we'll tell you what we're going to say when he comes out. So I've seen this before where they changed jurisdiction. Well, he came out and says, Thomas, you've got nothing to answer to. And I walked out. And he was asking me if it's all right. The court clerk was asking me. The only fly in the ointment was I brought a claim that the chief constable had brought a false claim into court, and I was wanting £1,000 out of him. I was so elated at winning that, I forgot about it.
But you got the minutes for that. Did you get the translation for that case? Because that could be quite interesting to actually analyse that.
Actually, that's a nice.
That's something we should all do.
Actually, so Carl Lentz does work.
Where's the magistrate called?
I will tell you that anyone that's working on it, Jack's price up to 180.
It's because I put the paperwork in. I put the
Because you filed the paperwork.
That's right. He couldn't listen to me normally.
Yeah, I know that, but then we were saying earlier they're not seeing it, or they're reading, like Andy said, they're reading between the lines, they're not seeing it, are they? Well, but my understanding is when they say they're not seeing it, or I can't hear it, is because
they don't understand.
They don't understand it.
When you make yourself the postmaster of the document, they cannot not see it.
Right, so you have to make yourself the postmaster. Okay.
That's a stamp, isn't it? Your signature.
Stamps, signatures, certain writing at the top. Like it's on the forum. I've done loads of videos about how you do it. But you make yourself that, and they cannot not see it. In fact, the chances are they won't even let your case go to court.
A lot of it's nonsense.
Unless it's a mortgage.
It is a mortgage. The right you do is you do from bottom right, top left, across the stamp. That creates you as the postmaster.
But do you know why that?
Do you know why they do that? Because you used to draw a sword.
Yeah.
When you're drawing your name, you're drawing on the authority of the postmaster. Draw your name. It's the same way why a salute became a salute. It was only lifting the visor.
The pens is mightier than the sword.
And we've got to start complaining as well, collectively, complaining. If they do something wrong, complain all the way up.
You never complain.
Sorry, I disagree. If a judge does something wrong in a case, get a complaint in straight away, stop the guy sitting in front of you.
Never
You know, well, a claim, yes, but I put a complaint in too, to stop the judge sitting in front of you again.
My daughter complained to me before I came out. She says, I wish I had straight hair and not curly hair. I didn't do anything about it. That's how you deal with a complaint.
Granted, but I still think a complaint...
How does she claim that then?
She claimed that the curly hair was from me, I said, not me, darling.
We'll have a notice waiting for you when you get home.
If you put in an original claim, they have to answer your claim. If you complain, they can just go.
Well, what's wrong with doing
You had a
both?
complaint against the police, didn't you, son?
Yeah, but what's wrong with doing both? 4 complaints against the judge, that's a serious issue.
Because you're putting yourself under their jurisdiction.
Well, 4 complaints against the judge, that's a serious issue. I think that judge is either going to stop behaving themselves or losing a licence.
All 4 of them can be ignored. But if you
Can
put in
be.
a formal claim that he has done wrong, or maladministration, or he has ripped you off,
Well, I've had